Yo, yo, what's going on, people? Welcome to Throw Down Your Questions, episode 194. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, which I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
It is time to throw down some questions.
Chris Seeley.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Carlos Romero.
What up, what up?
Brett Murdoch.
What's up, everybody?
Adam Vale.
Sucker Free Sunday.
And Brian Manjoma.
I rewatched that stream. Goddamn.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, because Brian, you were like, hey, you should do this stream, and then you weren't there. What the fuck?
Like 2 a.m. my time?
Yeah, our usual time when we stream, bro. You know this.
No, it's still a Friday. Anyway, I am rewatching it.
Well, I hope you're enjoying it. Yeah, for you who don't know, Chris did a live stream of Resident Evil 7. It was pretty awesome.
Shit.
I even made a guest appearance in there because I was like, yeah, I'm going to join in.
I decided to break it up. I was a little too worn out to do continued Saturday because I got on this classic game fest. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to stream this week, and I'm going to throw in Not a Hero. That'll be another day. I'm going to do the playthrough of Not a Hero, which is the Chris Redfield DLC, and then End of Zoe, which is the weird redneck Joe Baker out of nowhere guy who punches alligators and shit. So I'm going to play that one.
Nice, nice. By the way, speaking about that, a classic game fest, man. So tell us about that.
It's pretty cool. It's a show here. They sell retro gaming stuff. They sell old consoles. They sell old games. I found, like, you can find Master System. I found there was a guy selling Commodore 64 games. I found stuff for I found Magnavox Odysseys there and all this shit. I was looking for, really what I wanted was a TurboGrafx 16. This shit is really impossible to find. I went to the guy who had broken shit. He had broken Genesis, whatever, NES, Master Systems, whatever. So if you take them and fix them up, sells them cheap, like $10, right? Because they're busted. So you'd have to go like solder it yourself or replace the capacitors or whatever. So some people do that. It's a cheaper option. He didn't have one TurboGrafx. I couldn't find one there. So the quest continues for that. But I did get some cool games.
Nice. What you get, man? What's your haul?
I was able to find Super Ghouls and Ghost. I found Mega Man X. Because you requested, I got you Mega Man X. I got unfortunately, I found out the Genesis copy I got of Alien Soldier was a bootleg.
Oh,
so it was it's a repro ROM. It was fake. But the other ones I got was real. I got Blackthorn, which is an old Super Nintendo game. I found Silent Hill 4 for PS2, which I didn't own. I owned on 1, 2, and 3. I had, back in the day, I'd rented 4 and I played through it. I never thought to own it. Couldn't find that shit for years. Finally found it at the show for cheap. I think I was like,
I mean, I remember you playing through Silent Hill 4 too.
Right, I rented it. Yeah, I played through the whole game. I never thought to buy it. I was like, I don't really feel like it. Then I was like, shit, I should have bought that game.
You still have that old game save? I'm sure you do, because I remember you got like she had the magical girl outfit at some point.
Oh, that's Silent Hill 3. Yeah, she had the Sailor Moon outfit, and she could shoot lasers out of her eyes. That shit was hilarious. But yeah, I found what else did I picked up, I think, Dragon Crown for Vita for like $18. So I'll play through that. I can play through that like while I'm at work or something. And play.
Yep, and you can play it on your, if you have it for PS4 or 3, you can.
Yeah, Pro. I'm gonna do that. That's amazing that they could pull that off. It works between all 3 systems. I got a couple of things I can't remember. I didn't get Super Punch Out. I wanted to get that, and own it. So I didn't get it. But yeah, it was a good time, good haul. They have the Pinballs Arcades brings all these retro arcade machines there, so you can play I played like Street Fighter 2, and they had Defender there, Joust, all this old arcade games. You know, Dragon Slayer was there. I ain't playing that shit again though. That shit's
Do you have a display case?
They have the original cabinets.
No, I mean for you, like to show off your stuff.
Oh, I mean, I got like shelves and stuff, man. You know, like I don't have a display case or anything.
Yo, man, get another to Toft and pop it.
Oh, shit,
man. You had a display case, right? I remember you
I
had
have,
something.
I have 2. There's one, if you can see back there, that's there.
Oh, I have those, but for figures, right? I don't have it for the.
No, I'm gonna, when I get
systems.
back from the trip, I want to do one for all my consoles, my older consoles.
Yeah, so there's, I mean, if you ever wanted them, there's like, they sell two types. There's this one, which is the Detolfed, and then there's another one that's a Longwise one where you can kind of look down into it.
Well, send me a link. Send me a
Okay.
link or somewhere where I can get in. I want to display all my goods. Because right now they're all in boxes or they're all in shelves, and that's not where they belong. They belong in a museum for the people.
Man. All right. And I want to give a shout out to Danny Pena from Gamertag Radio. I actually went to go see his film, the Gamertag. It's called Gamertag Radio, a podcast story. They were screening it as part of the Dominican Film Festival here in New York. Apparently, they've actually been doing these for 7 years. So his movie was screening up in Harlem. So it was cool because I haven't been to Harlem since I was a kid, you know, in decades and stuff.
What?
Weirdly enough, Harlem has not changed that much.
You could have visited me when I was living in Harlem.
You know, so it was dope. Got to meet a couple of, you know, a lot of his family was there. A couple of fans of Gamertag Radio who are also fans of Throwdown were there. Good times, man. Good times, you know. That day was crazy, too, because I went out twice last week, right? One, I went to go hang out with Tatiana. She was doing the Overwatch thing. I think she went back home. So same thing happened both days. Basically, I go to the city, right? And it's a little bit rainy or whatever. Then when I come back to Queens, the only time I'm stationary when I'm waiting for the bus is when it decides to fucking start pouring, right? And then as soon as I leave the bus to get home, it's fine. No more rain. It's hilarious. I'm like, because like if I'm in the city and it's raining, it's fine because there's awnings and shit. I could cover myself. But it was okay, you know? But as soon as I'm in the one spot where I'm not moving at all, I had my raincoat and shit, but it was just boring. But yeah, shout out to Danny. I think I'm gonna hang out with him maybe Monday, which is tomorrow or today for you guys. So that'll be cool. And also shout out to Mr. Gary Swabe, who I'm gonna see.
Town too.
Yeah, I'm gonna see him on Tuesday. So Manny, if you're free, let me know.
All right,
that'll be good.
I'll make 2 trips up to NYC.
Yo, man, you crazy, man.
Well, I mean, I before the show, you know, because Adam's gonna be coming back to NYC on the weekend.
Oh, Adam, I gotta see you, brother.
Yeah,
It's been a while. I haven't seen Adam in fucking years too.
Since the 80s.
It's the
Shit, we
80s,
were at
man.
the fucking the original Nintendo Game Boy launch.
Dude. Crazy, man.
1989. He had a fro.
I did have a fro in 1989. He's actually not joking about that part, man. Your boy, man. You know that fucking Dominican hair you get and shit. Puerto Ricans get it too, you know.
I got it.
Yeah, Manny has it too. It's like we don't grow her hair straight. It just like puffs up. you know? But in the back, it kind of does, you know.
Funny thing, John Leguizamo, him too.
Of course, man.
I've seen it.
Hispanics, man. You know.
But anyway, yeah, Adam's gonna be up in town so I'll be cool to make a double tap in the city.
Yeah, man. Awesome. All right, with that, we will answer some questions. We actually had a good amount of questions today, so it's pretty good, man. So we're gonna start off with our new final stage boss, which is G Megaforce 123. So his first question is, Konami or Hello Games? Who do you have more respect for now? Both were highly respected companies, studios. Hello Games has released an update which supposedly almost it completely makes one man's lie into everybody's sky. Is Sean Murray and Hello Games clearly more respected than Konami, which has only really released Metal Gear Solid, Survive, and Pachinko games recently? This is a crazy-ass question, man, but I like it.
I mean,
I'm gonna let somebody else go first.
I would say probably Hello Games as far as the reputation goes. Because here's the thing, like, despite how many people did, you know, say, you know, oh man, this game's crap, they continued to stick with it all the way till they did this super update. And to be honest, it's kind of the best thing that could happen the moment that Sean Murray decided to get to work and stop talking. And I mean, I'm sorry to make that sound so blunt, but that's what really needed to happen. He needed to stop making promises and sit down and actually do the work.
Man. Telling everybody all this stuff. It can do this, that. Little Mac from Punch-Out's in it. I mean, he said everything was going to be in this fucking game.
Yeah. Or, you know, whenever somebody asks him if something's going to be in the game, he's like, maybe it'll be in there. It'll be in there. It's like he didn't want to say no. So at this point in time, it's like, okay, he knew that once the backlash started happening, then he just said, "All right, you know what? I'm shutting up, and I'm going to make this game."
Yeah, I'm like the comparison is not exactly 1-to-1 because Konami's been around for ages. Hello Games literally has only one game, but at the same time, if we're being fair here, Hello Games actually ended up giving people what they want eventually. Konami hasn't done that in a long time. You know, like, let's just be honest here. So, and I don't think you're going to give people what they want for a while. I don't think you're going to pull a Capcom anytime soon. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I'm going to have to give a shout out. Despite all that bullshit, I have to give a shout out to Hello Games because they eventually delivered the game people wanted. Yes, it took forever, you know, but Konami ain't doing that. You know, I don't know if they're more respected or whatever. Konami still has the longevity and shit. But because
Konami still has the legacy.
But at the same time, it's also because of that legacy and what they're doing now, which makes things look a lot worse. You know what I'm saying? Like when I was checking out the SNES Classic and like, you know, all these other things, all these games that would pop up, Konami. I'm like, wow, they don't make anything like this anymore, man. You know,
no, they don't touch it. A lot of it's just mobile games. I mean, and then there's, you know, the occasional console game.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Anyway, what about the rest of you guys, man? Hello Games or Konami? Who do you respect more now?
I'd say Hello Games easily. I mean, Konami had a lot farther to fall with their long history. Hello Games doesn't have that long history and that reputation. Like, Konami destroyed their faith with fans after what they did to Hideo Kojima and all the other employees and all the stuff we were hearing as gamers and then following the industry, how they were screwing over their employees, like blacklisting them and all this shit. They had a lot farther to fall, man. All Samurai did was lie about a game, and then eventually, like the question said, he did make some of that stuff happen. He did follow through with a lot of promises. Konami's fucked over. Hideo Kojima's fucked over everyone. How many creators have left to start Indiegogos or some shit, right? And then what do they do? Metal Gear Survive. That's what you get. And then you like pachinko, you could play that. Like, they're not doing anything. So fuck them.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the money that they're making nowadays is something that, you know, most normal gamers would probably not give a shit about, and that's mobile. The mobile portion of their company seems to be making the brunt of their money, with the occasional, you know, Pro Evolution Soccer thing and, you know, some of the other titles that they've won. But they're not churning out titles like the way they used to. You know, at least for any of the bigger consoles.
Yeah, but I still have to give it to Konami for the long legacy of games that they did have. Like, trust me, I'm not like super happy with them by any means, but I can't say that I have more respect for one company which finally delivered on the promises that it initially put on release. Like, look, that's just you doing your fucking job and delivering what you said that you were going to. I'm not going to break my arm giving you applause for doing the thing that you said that you were going to do. It's like at this point, if Star Citizen comes out and it's half the game that it's supposed to be, I'll be amazed, but I'm not going to fucking be like, oh my God, this game is awesome. It's exactly what you said was going to fucking happen. It's exactly where you built all this hype from. At least Konami has a history of being able to be more than, you know, a one-hit wonder. We don't even know that No Man's Sky can continue, or Hello Games can continue with, you know, any more high-profile games after this point. Their reputation with gamers could be shot. In 15, 20 years, will you be talking about Hello Games or Konami?
Well, but Brett, like, so we're talking about now, right? And Konami's legacy only exists within its name now. None of the creators who made all these games are still there for the most part. I hear an echo. Who's that?
Throwdown crickets.
No, that's not me.
It's Brett. It's Brett.
I don't hear Brett. I don't hear any echo.
I don't hear.
Okay, I don't hear it anymore. Okay, cool. So yeah, like the whole legacy thing with Konami is just the name. Like that's all that exists now. That's all the legacy that's left is the name. As far as Hello Games, that they're still there. Like whatever they accomplished is still there. Is still intact. So for me, it would be Hello Games.
I just kind of win by default.
Yeah, it's pretty much. Because it's like, oh, I gotta give Konami props because of Metal Gear Solid. Oh, but Kojima's not there, or we gotta give him credit for this and for that. But it doesn't. That's not there anymore. Unless you're a fan of pachinko machines.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because the question is specifically now. They're not really talking about the legacy. You know what I'm saying?
Well, but that's the thing. Like, are you talking about like, do we respect the cats still at Konami? Like, is that specifically what we're asking? Because like those guys are a bunch of assholes who've done nothing but drive a successful game company into the ground.
Yeah.
So you're at that point, you're asking us to choose between bad and worse.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it is.
That's exactly what the question is.
Yeah, we're not suddenly forgiving Sean Murray of his sins. We are not doing that. We're just saying, hey, he at least gave fans what they wanted. Konami isn't even doing that, but that is not excusing all that bullshit that they pulled. You know, please don't get that twisted. All right, man. Anybody else want to jump in on that before we move on? All right, take that as a no. So we'll move on here. Okay. Okay. Are gaming communities really as bad as some people make them out? If you have played any recent popular multiplayer games like Overwatch or Siege, then you will know that while these games are capable of displaying fun and competitive matches, they can, at their worst, be pretty miserable experiences. I am all too familiar with how demotivating bad matches in games such as these can be compared to when matches are completed without a hitch. This has led to the phrase X community is the worst, or everyone in this game is toxic, being thrown around by gamers who have had enough of being stressed over their hobby. Okay, that was a long way of asking, do we think some of these gaming communities are toxic or horrible?
Of course, it happens.
Can I just establish something real quick?
Sure.
People are toxic and people are horrible. I don't care if it's a motherfucking quilting club. You get enough people in a room and they're going to be shitty to each other. There's going to be a certain amount of gatekeeping from the people who are old hat in the hobby, who are new hat. If this is RC cars, you got the guys who've been racing for 20 years saying the young bucks don't know what they're talking about, and then the young guys are all running computerized thing. Like, there's any group of people large enough will start to display tribalistic tendencies. This isn't something that's related just to games. And yes, the end result is people are shitty and people are toxic. Everywhere you go, welcome to the real world, Buttercup.
Mm-hmm. Testify.
I definitely think, like, I think the word "can" should be stressed, because I think there are cases where yes, they can be these ways, and there are also situations which obviously do not get reported a lot because they don't get anybody in an uproar, is where these communities change people's lives and make them better.
Yeah,
I think there should be a level of, the one problem with a lot of this sort of, doing a lot of this sort of talking about these sorts of communities, like, we only get one side of anything, where it's like obviously, because of the way our human minds work, is that we always kind of tend to focus on the things that went wrong, not on the things that actually went well. So I feel like, I think in general, it's like, yes, they can be, but they also can't be.
No, I would agree with that.
Well,
I have to think of, like, communities like the one you talk about with Arc, Brett, where it's like there is that there's that world where everybody was working together to make something really cool, and then there's those jerk-offs that wanted to burn the whole place down.
Oh yeah, I've met some of the worst people I've ever met in gaming on ARC. I also have friends I still talk to this day. So, although I will say EVE Online in particular seems to breed a particular kind of asshole. I don't know what it is about that game. You guys take that meta way too seriously.
All right, like, for example, Overwatch. You mentioned Overwatch in the question. Yes, as Beth said, people are sometimes assholes, but at the same time, the Overwatch community managed to raise $12.7 million for breast cancer by purchasing the Pink Mercy skin, and yet that's still the same community. That's still the same people that played the same game, but yet somehow people are willing to say that the community is toxic, but yet $12.7 million to help breast cancer.
What they consider toxic, maybe what they consider toxic is trash talking.
Then that's trash talk. People have been trash talking since when? Like, are you going to turn around and say, like, oh yeah, name me an NFL team? Because I'm pretty sure that they trash talk when they do, like, the huddle thing. Like, that community is now toxic. Like, it's trash talk. Like, that's what we do. We trash talk to try and put down the other team, because it's a mind game. Like,
I think some people just don't like it, or they don't understand it, or the difference, and they're like, oh, they're toxic. Why? Because they just said you suck and they're better than you or whatever. That's just what they do. That's what in any sport, in any genre. That's it.
it's also the most extremist things that stick most in your mind when you see these kinds of things. So like if for example you have like someone could be playing a Halo, for example, for a number of years and only stumble across maybe 10 toxic people. But if someone, and then it's like they'll say, no, this community is not toxic at all. But if someone like goes in one day and experiences the whole, like that whole day, just that, then they're going to think this community is shit. It's a horrible community. So it's like these strong emotions and these strong like kinds of things are what impact people and sort of unconsciously makes you generalize certain subsects of groups. So it's like, I think it's human nature for people to do that.
Okay, speaking of human nature, though, I want to throw out, I think some people tend to be, and I know this is probably an unpopular opinion, this is just my opinion, but some people are super sensitive to what they perceive as other people being judgmental. And I have friends who this happened before, but like the best example I could give is a completely hypothetical one where you're playing on a team with somebody and you fail to get the flag, and somebody in chat says, "Good job, cocksucker," and you sit there and you're like, "Motherfucker, I don't know how this dude knew I was gay, but he knew I was gay, and now that's like he's attacking that and being judged for my sexuality just while playing a game. Meanwhile, this other guy is just calling everybody a cocksucker." Like you need to be careful and put into context, and don't jump at shadows. Like sometimes people are just being blanket assholes, or they're just trash talking. A lot of times it doesn't have anything to do with you. If somebody calls you an idiot on the internet, chances are they don't actually think that like you're gonna come to your house and find you like, you know, with an IQ of 50 barely able to open a can of soup. Like we're all using a certain amount of hyperbole here. But try not to take too much offense, like towards the trash talking, and that's the thing. And video game is inherently competitive. Even cooperatively, it's competitive. If your team is making you fail, you're gonna get frustrated. You're gonna yell. Like that's, again, just the nature of people. But as bad as people can be, they can be equally as good. Like people are the best and worst thing ever. I think it's just the best way I can sum it up.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it, to be honest.
Yeah, and also the power of anonymity also leans to that extreme a little bit.
Nobody knows who each other is.
Yo, man, Rigel 42.7 is an asshole.
Yeah. But let's say if it was like Bill Larathan or whatever, right? Okay, then now that guy's name is out there. He probably wouldn't be saying too many crazy shit, would he?
Larathan sounds like a Japanese English name.
like English last names.
Yeah. All right, man. Let's move on here. Who are we up to here? Black Metal Gamer. Okay, so he goes, with Octopath Traveller selling better than Square-Enix expected, do you think we'll see more pixel art / retro style JRPGs from the company? Maybe. You know, we'll see.
Maybe. I don't know. That would be a really dumb excuse to make more pixel art games. Like, it's the pixel art that does it. It's not the fact that the game is actually good.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the fact that it's a Final Fantasy game that people actually want, you know? Nope, it's a pixel art.
We have a game, and we named it Souls, because people like games with the name Souls in it.
Yeah, I don't really know how to answer this. I guess we'll have to see, you know?
Yeah, I think we'll have to see. I mean... it's cool, you know. I mean, granted, the game, what it took to make that game wasn't an insane amount of work. I mean, not an insane amount. It was probably a lot of work, but it wasn't a huge, billion person team. I think it's somewhere in the 10 to 20 guys that worked on that game.
Yeah.
So,
by the way, just quickly, I want to do this before he bounces. Give a quick shout out to Hip Hop Gamer, who's joining us in the chat, just saying hi, man. What's going on, brother? What's going on? What's going on? All right, Manny, continue. Yeah, but you're right about that. By the way, they also did, the same company did Bravely Default, which is another Final Fantasy style game that people really enjoyed. You know,
they're known for making having a kind of a short team, but making really good quality things, and I think that's that's always great. You know.
Yeah, so we'll have to see. By the way, quickly, I was just on Twitter right now while you guys were doing the other discussion. Somebody asked, "Hey, should I play a video game or should I read tonight?" I'm like, "Play a JRPG. Do both." You know. He goes, "In the presence of y'all greatness, bro. One love. I'm out. Have a great rest of the show. Thanks for stopping by, man. Appreciate that,
Thanks,
brother.
man.
Yeah, I'll see you soon, man. I'll see you soon." Yeah, anybody have anything else to add to this? We don't. This again, it's a hard question to answer. We don't really know. I hope they do. You know, like not even retro style games. Just I mean, like retro pixel games. Just like throwback games. I people like those. I think we'll still get some from them, but it won't be like the old days where it's like every year you get like 2 of them. It won't be like that. But I think you'll still get some every once in a while. You know,
I think people
especially
need to
with Switch. Hold on, I need to add this. I just realized now, especially with Switch now, I think these kind of games would actually do better on it. You know what I mean?
I think people also need to realize, like at least with these companies, need to realize there can be these sorts of games that are made by those, these classic sort of, games that can be made for the consoles, and them not, they don't need to be these $100 billion experiences. They could be something like that, where it's just, some pretty impressive graphics for what they are, and a compelling story.
Yeah. Our upcoming question is related to this, so keep that in mind as well. Anybody else on Square-Enix JRPGs?
I think it's really plausible that they'll do it.
Yeah. I think it's just a matter of when they're going to do it, But yeah, I think it's going to happen. All right, next up, Hashling and Slasher with a similar type of question. And he actually asked us this question a couple weeks ago, but, he asked 3 questions, so I'm glad he brought it back because this was one I definitely wanted to tackle. He goes, "Do you think atmospheric games like Journey and Abzu will ever be as popular as games like The Witcher 3 and God of War?" Can I just answer it with a blunt no? Yeah, no.
I agree.
Yeah, and here's why. The same reason why art house movies aren't as big as like Transformers movies. Those movies, those games have a market and they're made for a reason. They sell, but they're not, here's the thing. Most people like big productions. That's what they like. They like lavish productions, they like big games. They like realistic graphics. That's generally what the market likes. So games like Absu and Journey, again, they have their audiences and they will be successful among those audiences. But for mass audiences, they don't really care for those. They ignore them. They want the Call of Duties and the Maddens and shit like that, That's just the way it is. Again, this is the same reason why like art house movies are not as big as like Transformers or MCU, because people like big spectacle type of things,
It's when the art house movies start to resemble those sorts of big budgety things. That's when
then people watch them. Isn't that funny? That's a great point.
Officially, because I mean, granted, people do know what Judge Dredd is, or now know what John Wick was, but John Wick was not a big production.
No, it wasn't. But it looks like it is.
It looks like it.
But yes, it is. People like these big bombastic things, But like you said, Manny, there's room for those other type of games too, But that's just the way it is with human nature. But you're gonna get both. It's not like one's gonna overshadow the other,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, critically, they might be on par.
Yes, yes.
But as far as selling, it's not going to be close. There's a reason why these companies put that much money onto these games, is because they know these have the higher probability of selling in the millions.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's like, why do you think a lot of big AAA games are kind of similar? Because they know what works and what doesn't work, what sells and what doesn't sell. With smaller indie games, they could get experimental, But people don't really like it. General audiences, some people obviously, generally audiences do not like experimental stuff. They like safe things. They like playing the same things over and over and over again.
Here's the funny thing, but within the independent space, you notice that there are all these different things that they tend to test out that the big companies eventually take advantage of.
Yeah.
So like having, Journey had that kind of, light online aspect where you see other characters in the game, but then not too long after that, you heard about a lot of other companies talking about online aspects that are very similar to that too.
This is why I feel indie games are important, because they're a good way of testing different ideas out. And if they work, you'll get them in the big AAA games. AAA games are not going to experiment. They don't do that, They
and also, like these kinds of atmospheric indie games are kind of synonymous with like the word niche gaming.
Yes.
And it kind of like Tony was talking about how like they're kind of test beds, like some people love Gone Home, some people hate it. Like a lot of people here don't really like the game, but a lot of us like Journey. A lot of us like, what other games are like that? Like we like these other like examples, but yeah. So it's really, these are kind of test beds and kind of people creating things more organically than a AAA game.
Yeah, AAA games has to go through a committee and all that other shit, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you're right about that. That's a good point. Because B3 committee. Yeah, they're right. Gone Home, I could not stand that game, but Journey, love that game. You know, it depends, man. Anybody else? Brad, I'm looking at you specifically.
Why are you looking at me specifically?
Because I feel you'd be pretty insightful, and plus I want to get you to talk because you're probably playing some games right now.
No, you're still wrong. No, I'm kind of torn on this, which is the reason I'm being a little quiet. Like, part of me wants to say that we're going to reach a critical mass of people getting bored with realistic graphics. We're kind of already seeing the rumbles of it in the sense that we're getting so good at realistic graphics that we're able to start making photorealistic games. And that's going to kind of be the natural default that a lot of people settle into. And as it becomes easier and easier to render these things and render more light sources, people or developers are already kind of looking at like, well, what can I do now? Everything already looks beautiful. More particle effects and more sparks and more lighting and more dynamic facial movement. Everybody's kind of trying to figure out how to make the game more realistic than the last game, where some of us old folks remember when there was very clear jumps in graphic fidelity that was being limited by the hardware. So I think we'll get to a certain point where honestly everybody gets fucking sick of it. It's the reason Pixar movies do so well in movie theaters. Like, yeah, we can all go see a perfectly realistic movie, but we want to see CGI enhanced movies. We want to see Pixar movies. We want to see things that look different or grab our attention. Even the realistic movies are now cast or lit very weirdly. You know, everything has dual shades of lighting and is very dynamic and crisp and well set up. So I think I don't think that Journey is necessarily the game to say that we're going to have those kinds of games, but in terms of more ambiance and more style, I think that we're going to see a lot of games not quite realistic, you know, them starting to actually have a little bit more artistic style or play with reality a little bit more. If you're talking strictly ambiance games, I don't think that's going to happen a lot until VR becomes a thing, because it's a different kind of gaming. You know, as they said, people want reactive games, people want action games, people want things that they have to play. If people want to be transported somewhere, video gaming isn't still the best medium for that, to be honest, because you still have, you know, a couple walls between you and the experience. You still have the screen, you still have the controller. You're not necessarily as immersed as anybody who's played Resident Evil both normally and in VR. They can tell you that VR is a lot more immersive. And that's kind of the case. But VR is also really bad at doing quick knee-jerky action things. Like, man, running down a battlefield in World War II in VR will probably make you throw up in your lap.
Yeah, the other aspect I want to bring up is games like Abzu and Journey do not have the other big component that most general audiences like, competition. They don't have that, right? You know, so because of that, that's going to hold those games back too. Games like Overwatch and Call of Duty got big because of the competitive aspect. Look at Overwatch. That game is very, very stylized. That has its success is not really about the graphics. It is about the gameplay and the competition and stuff. You know, they even have the freaking Overwatch League over here in New York over the weekend. So yeah, those kind of games do not have anything like that, you know?
Well, Journey's more of an arty game too. Like, if you want to talk strictly ambiance, I would probably point towards Detroit Become Human. Like,
that's a big lavish fucking production, man. Like, he's talking about. I know. Yeah, he's talking about more like art house type of games. Yeah.
And that's why I'm using it as an example. Like, if we're speaking strictly ambiance, I know that's not what the question's about. Like, that game has it in spades. It's still realistic looking. It's hyper realistic and looking, but it does a good job of putting you in a story and having a lot of ambiance. You know, I would say Journey is, like Tony said, it's more of an art house game. And if you're asking if our art house game is going to get mass appeal, like, no.
Yeah, that's the question, because you will have atmospheric games are going to be around, but they're not going to be like art house games. Like, I mean, they're not going to be super successful. Yeah, games like Detroit, I don't know how much it's sold, but it's done. Quantic Dream games in general do good, but they look hyper real.
They always kind of do the same, same thing.
Yeah.
Like they do around the same numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're still because in general they're still somewhat not subvertive. I don't know what the word would be, but they kind of straddle that line because it's like a lot of it is not playing, it's kind of doing mini games, and people are very combative when it comes to that, or quick time events and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and I think that's important. I think having moments of downtime to kind of set the scene are really that's something that I think a video game directors, for lack of a better term, are starting to figure out, is you need to have some down moments than up. I mean, how many of you guys remember fucking Mass Effect being as poignant as it was because of your downtime on the space station and Commander Shepard, recommending this product or that product? Like,
yeah, man,
it's those little moments between. And wouldn't you call that ambiance?
For the lack of a better term, yeah, that is a good word to use, to be honest. It certainly creates an atmosphere, just it gives you the flavor of the world, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like shooting around aliens, that's fine and all good, but when you're in the Citadel, you really get a feel for the universe. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. No, I'm totally. Even movies are like that. It's like you can't have an action movie that's nothing but action for 90 minutes. You get bored of that real quick. You need the downtime, so when the big crazy stuff happens, it has even more impact. And I want you people to understand that the stuff I'm talking about now applies to pretty much every medium. You know what I mean? Like visual media, like people just like flashy shit. That's what sells the most. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, man. Let's move on here. It's a great question again, man. All right. The next one. This one's kind of funny. Recently on the Weapon Wheel podcast, one of the fellas said that cheaters/hackers in game should be sent to jail. Do you agree with him, or do you think they should fine the cheaters' parents? He goes, LOL. But seriously, what, if any, punishment should cheaters in video games get when they've been caught red-handed?
There already is. There kind of already is one.
Okay, Manny, go ahead, and then I want Brett to jump in because I know he's chomping at the bit.
A lot of times they ban their accounts, and that's what happens.
Boot their asses.
Yeah, like what are you gonna do?
Yeah. By the way, I think we know you shouldn't go to jail for that. That's stupid.
No, it's kind of silly.
That's stupid. Who said that on Weapon Wheel, man? That's dumb.
That is a really silly thing because, again, in the end, it's just the game. Now, here's the thing. Now, if these people are obviously breaking some sort of copyright, like in other words, totally rejiggering the game, and that's against the little law, the little and non-disclosure agreement or whatever that you have you signed
end user agreement, yeah. Anyway, Brett, go ahead, man.
Silently and without notice, lock them into a server with no anti-cheat and full access to all the other cheaters.
Yeah, didn't GTA do something like that? Like put all the bad guys in the bad room, Yeah,
I mean that's a good thing too. Where like in other words, as soon as they've been pegged as a cheater, they can't get into any other server without anybody cheating on them.
Yeah, send them to gamer hell.
Yes, and I love that spot. Don't tell them. Don't even give them warning. Just send them to hell. Oh, that is. I don't think we have any more to add to that. I think that's a perfect solution.
It's like a sort of weird hidden sort of punishment where it's like, you notice that like every single person in the room is cheating or something, like blowing each other up for some crazy reason. Some other wacky shit is happening.
Slowly it dawns on you, like, wait a minute. Wait, am I in gamer hell? How long have I been here?
Yeah.
Oh god, that
what if the servers look slightly different too?
No, don't let them know, man.
No. Like there's just some small differences, like
it turns into the dark zone. What the hell?
Welcome to the dark zone.
It's all it is.
It's always night there or some shit.
It's always dreary.
Oh my god, that's a brilliant solution, man. There you go.
See, you gotta get out or something. It's gotta be. Let's say I cleaned up. I'm sorry. There's always gonna be somebody. It was my friend. He was visiting. He was on my account.
They have to repent somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a correctional facility. You know,
exactly. You gotta go in front of a hearing.
You know what? That'd be kind of crazy.
Probation.
Like they have a certain time. They spend a certain time in the hell server, right? for the offense that they can still play. They still play with each other and all that stuff. But yeah,
you can only play with the other cheaters, you know.
But here's the thing: like for Grand Theft Auto, what would you do? Because remember, you can also hook up with your friends. That means that you'll be dragging your friends into hell too.
No, that'd just be like, like if Tony's constantly cheating or something like that. Like, man, every time we log on, there's the motherfuckers with $1 billion and 12 rocket cars flying around. I'm not joining your game anymore.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Get your shit together, and then we'll play.
Exactly. Even your friends wouldn't play with you, man. You know. By the way, Seth goes always night, no fast travel or vehicles, etc.
Oh man.
Oh man. Shanasi says Earthbound would delete your save and restart soon as you got to the last boss. What?
Oh,
I heard a few games did that. Or they knew.
Okay, he said some games back in the day would mess with you if they detected you had a pirated copy.
It was a pirate. It was for pirated copy games.
Man.
For Batman Arkham Asylum, you would never get the ability to glide.
Oh shit! Damn.
So you couldn't get to certain parts of the game, so it stopped your progression. Yeah.
Wow. See, that's good though. I like that. All right, man. Moving on.
Then when somebody calls up the helpline, hey man, I got this game and like you can't use the glide thing, and they'll be like, well, stop fucking cheating,
motherfucker.
Did you hear about there was what was it, like Game Company Simulator or something like that all pirated versions of the game made it so that any game that you released was pirated and drained all the profits from your account, forcing you to lose.
Oh shit. That's crazy,
wow.
Man. Yeah. All right, man. Let's move on here. Mr. Seth is up, who's also in the chat room. So hopefully he could clarify this a little bit, because your question, and we'll get to it, but I'm like, I don't know if they work together, bruh. So he goes, recently 343 said they're not putting a battle royale mode in the upcoming Halo. All the comments I read were either good or fine with me. On the flip side, people are giving or gave Sony shit for not doing crossplay. Why are people fine with 343's choice, but not okay with Sony's choice? Choice being the key word. I'm specifically talking about crossplay, not the cross-account issue. Battle Royale is just another mode like CTF/TDM. This whole generation, I've been hearing how more options are better than less options in this case. Why? Dude, I don't know if these are apples to oranges comparisons, man. Or unless I'm bugging.
The first thing I want to point out is like, okay,
these are definitely apples to oranges comparisons.
Yeah, I don't. How do you? So it's like, so basically, you're saying that people are okay with Halo not having Battle Royale, but they're not okay with Sony having crossplay, and you're wondering why they're saying it's okay for one, not the other. But they're two completely different things, bro.
They are. I think I can make a common bridge, or at least a shotgun approach that attacks both of them. That okay, there's a critical difference between you making a decision and you making a decision for someone else.
Yeah, because he's here. He says, why is it okay for a creator to make one choice and not another choice? I guess that's a common thing, but he's basically saying, like, if it's creator's choice, why is one creator's choice bad and another
because Sony's
bad?
Not a creator. They're a distributor. They're the holder of the platform, and they're making the choice for everybody on the platform. Wow. Versus that's like saying, like, why is it okay for a band to decide whether or not they want to swear, but it's not okay for like a record label to decide whether or not all the bands on their label can swear? Like, because one person is making decisions for a bunch of other people, and the other scenario is a person or a group making decisions for themselves. It's okay to make decisions for yourself. It is not okay to make decisions for other people.
Playing devil's advocate, though, aren't they making a choice for other people by not having Battle Royale?
No, well, that's their game. They can make creative choices whether or not they want to have that. Like,
it's just like some games don't put multiplayer.
Yeah, but again, devil's advocate, isn't it Sony's platform, and they could do whatever they want with it?
To a certain extent, but they're also saying that they're also pushing that choice onto all the developers. So whether or not the developers want to do something with their own product, they're not allowed to. There's a difference there, though. Don't you see?
Oh no, I definitely see the difference. I'm just asking the questions, you know.
Asking my question is like, that's like saying, like, okay, so you're allowed to make a decision. Yes. Okay, so am I allowed to make a decision to not let you make a decision? No. But that's me making a decision. Yes, it is. But that's you making a decision to affect other people's ability to make a choice.
Yeah. No, I kind of see where he's coming from, but I agree with what you're saying too, Brett. You guys know me personally. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck about battle royale. Don't give a fuck about crossplay. So maybe that's why I'm having a hard time answering this one. But I don't see the two things as the same.
It's not like every game needs it. He's making it seem like, well, they need it. You know, not every game needs it, and if they don't want to put it in, then they don't want to put it in. I mean, they had their own version. Remember the big battles that would go on, and some people liked it, some people didn't give a shit. You know, same thing with Battlefield. They had Conquest. That's always been around, but people just now are like, oh wow, battle royale. But yeah, that's not new. So can't really bitch about it. It's like, yo, if they don't want that mode in, whatever. Not a big deal.
Also, I don't think you can criticize creatives for not making something. Like, just as a general rule of thumb, you can't say that, oh well, how dare you didn't write a love story into this book. Like, you can criticize what's there, but it always drives me crazy when people criticize the things that are absent. Like, they're holding it to some weird template in their head. They'll be like, well, this thing is clearly missing. Says who? The person who made it says it's fine. They made the blueprints. They built the damn thing. But you're saying it's missing a piece.
They say it's missing a piece because everything else under the planet seems to have this stupid mode, and that's what I think where that's coming from.
I know, but
they're holding it accountable because, well, you know, all these other first-person shooters have battle royale mode, so why doesn't this have battle royale mode?
Yeah, but people aren't complaining about that. They're saying, oh yeah, if you don't want to have battle royale, that's fine. You know, no one's really complaining about this.
Well,
because Halo fans are not looking for a fucking battle royale mode, to be honest.
They don't care.
And you're right. And you know what? They could easily, because battle royale mode is such an easy thing to seems to implement, where every single game seems to just turn on the battle royale mode in there. How much do you want to bet there's not going to be some version of that shit coming in the future of Halo 7 or whatever it is?
Also, here's another reason why this isn't a really good comparison. It seems that some people, or you know, here's the thing: people do like battle royale, but the people who do not like battle royale are very vocal about not liking battle royale. So it's like they don't want battle royale, but they do want crossplay. You know what I mean? So maybe that's why. But again, it's not a one-to-one comparison. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, any other thoughts on this?
Yeah, like one's a game, one's a service, so
yeah,
it doesn't like it's not really apples and apples comparison. Like this is completely different. I'd even say go as far as apples and watermelons, or even apples as grapefruits. Like
I don't even know about that. I think it's more like apples to steak. It's like really far out there, you know.
Like I understand like what it's trying to say, but at the same time, like people seem to. Okay. I think one is to do with the Halo community and what they want in like their game, and they're fine with the absence of battle royale. Whether that's because there are games that are dedicated to that mode in general, like your Fortnite, your PUBGs and whatnot. Whereas the other one is just a general service which will enhance games in general, and that can be applied to anything. And I think that is the difference.
Yeah, the truth says he goes like COD not having a story mode. That's a creator's choice.
Yeah, like yes, there are people that are pissed, but then there's also like having other games that are just nothing but story modes. You know, so I think it's the fact that they can still get that elsewhere that it's not too fast. Whereas with crossplay, there is no real crossplay. It's just you play your thing and that's it.
Yeah, Mighty Nerd says Battle Royale is just a fancy term for free-for-all. I do not disagree with that. Seth also says some PS4 fans don't want or need crossplay. Fair point.
That's not a good reason for you to call for there to be no crossplay.
It's true. That's a true fact. Like some people don't want crossplay, but then there's also the other part that do want crossplay.
Yeah, there are also some PS4 fans that don't want single-player games.
Yep. There are people that exist on all sides of the argument. Like that's a de facto standard. So that's not an argument.
Yeah, but there's
like saying that there are places that are wet, there are places that are dry. Like, yeah, that's life. That's just the way things are.
Yeah, but just because some people don't like pineapple and ham on their pizza doesn't mean that it should be banned from all menus everywhere and nobody should.
It should be banned.
It should be banned though.
Yeah. How
dare you?
Yeah, that should be banned though. Let's just be real. Anyway, go on.
Nature bread.
It is. But it's some people's right to be
blasphemy.
Yeah. Man, I had a very good friend that I've known my entire life tell me they're okay with pineapples on their pizza. I wanted to disown this man. New York? Yes, Manny, you know who exactly I'm talking about. Like, my man,
what the fuck? Had a very good friend.
Yeah. Like, yo. Anyway, yeah, stuff. It's not a, yeah.
The pizza ancients are rolling in their grave for such blasphemy.
Hussein says crossplay allows for cheats to happen. I know he's not a fan of that crossplay stuff either.
How does crossplay allow for cheats to happen?
That's only the PC version. Sorry.
You know.
Crossplay with PC people, you know what you're gonna get.
But then crossplay with PC has been going on with PlayStation for some time now.
That is true.
Yeah.
Because crossplay with Xbox is what people are after.
You won't get any. You won't get any cheating on the Xbox one.
And by the way, whenever the crossplay with Xbox and Switch came out, that's when most of the resistance came out on the PlayStation side. But when they were doing crossplay to PC, I didn't hear crickets, man. I heard fucking Brett's crickets louder than these.
Damn.
I just want to mention that fact too.
Well, Carlos, you know what's going on, man. Let's just be real. You know what it is.
It's fanboy fuckery, man. Come on.
Because Sony guys don't care about PC guys, you know, but with Xbox guys, they don't like those guys.
Yeah, because they hate the fact that it's Xbox people that are pushing this shit.
Yeah. But again, to be fair, Xbox guys were not pushing this shit last generation. They were cool when Microsoft said no to crossplay, you know? They were like, fuck PlayStation. We don't need those guys. Now their tune is different. Very interesting, man. You know? But to be fair, the PlayStation guys were like, hey, crossplay would be great last generation. You know? Fanboys. All right, man. Let's move on here. Where the fuck are we?
People can't change their mind?
Well, you can change your mind. You just don't change your mind every week depending on what your company decides to do. You know what I'm saying? All right, man. Moving on here. Mr. Spacey's Pleasure Yacht. So his first question is, both of these are about open world games, by the way. What are some of this generation's best and worst open world games?
So I'll nominate The Witcher 3 for worst.
Damn!
I'm just joking.
Ryan!
As Carlos said,
That's some
The
words.
Witcher, I was like, yeah, the worst. Because come on, Carlos, try again. Fucker.
Excuse me?
I nominate Heroes of the Storm for the worst game in general.
Damn, son.
Damn, someone took offense to that one.
You know, shit.
At least I played The Witcher 3.
Yeah, I'm not playing Heroes of the Storm because it's that bad.
All right, so changing my tune. Horizon Zero Dawn is one of the best for me.
I agree.
I mean, that's probably one of the best games this generation.
They got dinosaurs
Top 10.
and wins. Robot dinosaurs. There you go.
It's got robot dinosaurs. It's got a good story. The world is freaking beautiful, man. It's diverse. There's like a fucking
they got black people in it, man. Yeah, you're right about that. You got everything. You got jungles, fucking snowy mountains, deserts. Yeah, man. Yep. That's a dope one.
Yeah. How many are we supposed to name?
As many as you want, man. Don't matter. I'm taking the limiters off, man.
So what's another good open world game? Brett.
I'm gonna answer for Brett. Yeah, Fallout 4.
Yeah.
Fallout 4. There you go.
Oh, and Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, and
let's just get that over with.
You know, sorry, Brett.
I mean, you motherfuckers just don't want me to talk or something.
Damn.
All right, come on, guys. Best and worst. Throw them at me.
Okay, I'm gonna say the best.
You don't play no open world games, man.
I'm gonna say the best open world. You want to know what the best open world game is?
Life.
Life is the best open world game, man. You can do anything you want and fail.
I can't be an astronaut.
Permadeath.
Permadeath. Wonderful graphics. Look at these graphics.
Manny, just say it, man. Nier Automata.
I wouldn't. It's an open world game, but did he say sandbox?
Yeah,
no,
he did. Both. He did. He threw both in there.
I can't say open. That is the best open world. I like the world of it, but it's as open as it is. It's almost like if you took a bunch of levels and kind of combined them a little bit, where you kind of have to walk.
Yeah, that's
So
that's what an open world is.
No, it's
not really. It's all seamless in one spot.
Yeah, it's
no loading.
I wouldn't say Nier is the best open world. It does have a lot of nice world building to it, which expands the world. But as far as open worlds go, I don't think that's the best. You know what? I'm gonna say the. And I wouldn't even say Gravity Rush's open world is very good either. Not very good. It's visually impressive, but it's not really alive.
But it's the most vertical open world.
Yeah, like
game.
it's very visually impressive. It's very vertical. Like in other words, you can go to all these different really cool
up and down,
areas.
baby, up and down,
up and down.
Yo, that game surprises. Like you could be falling for like 20, 30 minutes, and you're still like going into a place.
Yeah,
yeah.
Right.
You can literally fall from the top of the world to the bottom of the world, and probably even a little bit lower. Yeah, I don't really. I would have to say, as far as open world games that I've had a little contact with, I would probably have to say the Witcher's world is kind of interesting, just for the plain amount of things that are within that world, and how the design works on a lot of the characters. They have little things that they do during the day. Certain places close, stuff like that. And I would have to say go with Witcher.
I'm gonna throw one in for Brian. Just Cause 3 or 4, whatever the fuck it was, the last one.
Yep, Just Cause. It's pretty much, I would call that as like a true sandbox, because with a true sandbox, you can just do what you want with the sand. Like, okay, you want to make a castle, make a castle. You want to make a moat, you make a moat. You want to dig a hole, you dig a hole. With Just Cause, it's like, hey, you want to go to that place, you go to that place. You want to blow up that building, you blow up the building. You want to attach a helicopter to a tank, you can do that. You want to attach a person to a helicopter to a tank, why not? You want to be upside down on a jet and shoot an RPG at a helicopter, why not? So it's pretty much like go anywhere, do mostly anything type game. That's why I say it as, or hence why I call it as a true sandbox. So it's like, hey, you know what? You're free to do whatever the hell you want, mostly.
I mean, officially, they're all there's, just like a sandbox, there are walls to that sandbox. You can do with anything, do whatever you want within, do things with the sand that you want within the sandbox. But then when you start, you can't really introduce anything else to that.
I want to nominate Assassin's Creed Origins. That was fucking fantastic. Speaking about sand, that's a sandy game. Takes place in ancient Egypt. It's dope. And you could just travel through the entire world if you want, see the different sites and stuff. That was really, really well done, man. I really enjoyed that. I particularly liked. It's funny because even though the game is set in ancient Egypt, my favorite part of the game is actually the part where the Romans were taking over. It's like it has all these Roman buildings and stuff. Probably why I'm hyped for the next Assassin's Creed, man. So that was a good one. I'm trying to think about some bad open world games. I'm not really.
I got one that's good.
Oh, I do have one too.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, you guys ready?
Uh-oh.
Sea of Thieves.
You're
I'm gonna say No More Heroes. Probably the worst open world ever, because it didn't even need to exist. You could have just.
No More Heroes was this gen?
Oh, this gen.
Yeah,
sorry.
This gen.
I
was like, you talking about the re-release, bro?
Excuse me?
Excuse me? Yeah, this generation.
Worst open world game.
I got it. I got one.
Go for it.
Mafia 3.
Mafia
3 was horrible. That was broken. It was trash.
Wait, which game?
Mafia 3.
Oh, Mafia 3.
Yeah,
good point.
It was so bad. The lighting, the gameplay, the controls, always buggy. Trying to run to a car, he's making a motion to open up a car door. He can't open the door. They constantly kept trying to fix it. It was just broken. And it's just not fun.
Yeah, Hussein agrees with you. He just flat out said Mafia 3.
Yeah, Mafia 3 was bad. For me, the best, though,
Here's the question: have Mafia games ever been any good?
Oh yeah,
No.
Mafia 2 is awesome.
Mafia 2 had shitty controls though, man.
Well, the controls not so great, but the world, the story, the fact that they jumped time periods, the whole world changed halfway through the game. Remember that? You jumped from the 30s to the 60s. That shit was crazy.
Yeah, but those controls were killed it for me. Like this is fucking terrible. You know?
Can I give a shout out to a game?
Yeah.
The Division, the first week, or the first month.
Yeah, that is a good open world though.
It had some. What happened was, it wasn't that it was so bad. It was that there was no end game. So once you hit level 30, it was like, now what? And they didn't realize how fast people were going to fly through it. Sort of like the Destiny issue, but not like Bungie. They actually kept supporting it, giving a lot of free content, a lot of modes, and till this day they're still doing it.
Yeah, but I can't give it a pass for that first week. The same reason why I want to mention this game that we talked about earlier, No Man's Sky.
Yeah,
the
that's
first
another
week,
one.
really? A game dies instantly within the first week? You got to say the first 6 months or at least the first year.
No, some games die within the first week. Yeah, they die within
first week.
Yeah.
Every game has a patch. You know what I mean? Think about that. So they're all broken out of box. If you think about it, if you're not plugging your shit in and you're just getting a disc and you don't have online, your shit's busted. So you can't say that.
The Master Chief Collection died within a week for me.
That wasn't even bad either. It was just some of the multiplayer. Just I did 4-player co-op for all of them, and the only issue I ever had was when we were trying to do multiplayer with other people.
The game was buggy. You kept getting disconnected because I got disconnected on friggin' on co-op too. Not just multiplayer.
Yeah, I couldn't get matches going.
Multiplayer was horrible. I couldn't play, but for co-op, because it was, we're just connecting directly. It didn't have to do the matchmaking.
Yeah, but see, for Carlos and me, we're trying to play online. Like I couldn't get a match.
It was a Texas issue.
What?
It was a Texas issue.
He was talking to other Zinc, man. This is propaganda right now, you know.
I want to nominate Horizon.
That's bad, right?
Oh, that's the baddest one.
Oh, what?
Look, guys, it's not even actually an open world game.
What?
Just because you move from point A to point B to do lobby shit does not mean that.
Wait, then why are you mentioning it?
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Because you guys mentioned it. You guys brought it up as the best, and I say I don't even think it qualifies as an open world game.
But it is an open world game. It's the definition of a world. It's a giant world that you can move through without loading. That's the definition of an open world game, man.
Yeah, I don't see it. No, I don't see it as an open world. Yeah, it felt very sandbox. It didn't feel like an open world.
The question is sandbox. But you can nominate it for your worst. I know you got issues with that game.
The worst? Wasn't the worst?
My issues with the game are basically that. Like, it's like, I'm not even saying it's a bad game. I'm saying it's a terrible like open world sandbox game because it just wears the thin veneer of an open world sandbox game.
It's not. I mean, the thing is that you can't say that game is actually a sandbox game at all because it doesn't really let you do what you want to do.
Yeah, remember we discussed it before. There's a difference between a sandbox game and an open world game.
And this question is talking about sandboxy open world games, right?
It's both actually, open world games or sandbox or the combination. It could be three type of games.
Just because you have to move through a 3D space to get to your next mission doesn't mean that it's an open world game.
Yeah, it does. That's literally what it means, dude.
No, it doesn't, dude. The world is not open to you from the beginning in any way. Like, you're confined to small areas.
No, you're not. You could go anywhere you want.
GTA 3.
Yeah, that is true. All GTAs were closed off to you, so that's not open world then?
The newest one wasn't.
Brett, so you're telling me GTA 3 is not an open world game?
Yeah, not a true open world game?
Yes.
No, not the original.
Okay, bro. Well, you have a different definition of open world then. You know? Open world is a big-ass world you can move through without loading. That's an open world game.
Just because you can't access everything within... Because, I'm pretty sure you only play, 1 or 2 hours of this game. After the third hour, you can access the whole map.
Oh, no, I put in, almost 20 hours.
What? And you can't get everything?
No, I opened up everything. It's just super linear.
How is it because it's a story-based game?
I unlocked all of my fucking weapon upgrades too.
If you want to scavenge the world,
you did not open up on your weapons in 20 hours, bro. That's bullshit. I'm telling you right now, man. I played that full game, platinum and everything. It takes you a long time to unlock every single weapon upgrade in the game. You cannot do it in 20 hours.
Some hours to beat it.
It takes 60 hours to beat the shit fully. You know. Trust me, you didn't unlock every single weapon or weapon upgrade in it, you know?
I didn't say I unlocked every weapon.
Yeah, you did, actually. You did say that. Like, I unlocked every weapon.
I unlocked every weapon.
No, you
weapon
didn't.
type, motherfucker.
Yeah,
I didn't say upgrade.
And I'm telling you, that's bullshit. You can't do that in the first 20 hours.
Fuck that.
Fuck that. But anyway, that's a valid question. I'm not trying to go down that rabbit hole again. We've talked about the game too many times. But yeah, you don't like it, you don't like it. So that qualifies for this question. I also want to give a shout out. I know people.
What is the best open world game, Brett?
This generation.
This generation.
I like Fallout. I think it gives you the most options. It doesn't give you a whole lot of quest options in terms of like changing the world the way that like New Vegas did, but I still felt like you have the ability to impact the world. You have the ability to do what you want, and you got base building.
Is it an open world game? Because I couldn't access the facility underground.
Oh, you're just mad that I didn't like your favorite game.
I'm using your arguments.
Yeah, it's open world because I can go I can go anywhere on the map as soon as I start.
No, you can't.
That is not a criteria for open world. Like the amount of time it takes.
Oh, you're splitting hairs now.
Oh, I'm
Brett,
splitting
you're
hairs.
splitting hairs.
No, there's no difference between locking off the end of the fucking dungeon versus locking off the end of an entire fucking zone. You don't see a difference there, really?
By the way, Brett, I don't mind that you don't like Horizon. I just don't like your arguments.
Then it's not a true open world.
Yeah, your
game.
arguments are kind of bullshit, dude.
That's my because I'm just using your arguments to go against Fallout, and I'm proving myself right.
What you're doing is you're strawmanning my argument to the very.
I'm strawmanning your strawman.
And trying to use it.
I'm strawmanning your strawman, Brett.
How am I strawmanning?
You're saying I can't access the whole map from the beginning of the game. That's a strawman. You can access it after a few hours.
Once you've worked into those areas in a linear progressive fashion.
No, as soon as you're done with the trials, you can go anywhere.
Just like Fallout, you have to go through a linear path before you open up the whole world, bro.
Yeah, you can't access the Brotherhood, the blimp shit until like several hours to the game because you have to go through these story plots.
Okay. I don't even know how to begin to counteract that, so we'll just whatever.
Yeah, we're going down a deep rabbit hole right now. We're not going to do that.
Wait,
Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
I mean, we left out GTA 5. I mean, look at GTA Online. All the shit you could do, man.
That's previous gen.
Yeah, that's previous.
Does that
gen.
count? Like
Yeah.
all the stuff that is now a previous gen is locked off. Like GTA Online hasn't had an update in like almost 2 years.
See, GTA is a tricky one because it's found most of its success this generation.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah, it came out in a transition year.
I'm gonna allow it.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's a tough one, but like, yeah, it technically like the meat and potatoes and stuff, even like Heist was like this gen, right?
Yeah.
So I think like the best stuff came out this gen for that game. I mean, there's others that are good too. I mean, there's transitional stuff I could name, but I guess wouldn't count like Metal Gear Solid 5. Like that's transitional. I don't think Watch Dogs 2 was transitional, although I didn't fucking play that game. I don't know.
Watch Dogs 2 was actually pretty good. That was a good open world game, actually. It was San Francisco. Yeah, that was a good one, actually.
Can No Man's Sky simultaneously be the worst open world game ever, also the best one?
That's right.
With 2 years of updates.
You know. By the way, Adam, I'm surprised you didn't say Wildlands, bro. He's gone right now. I'll throw Wildlands in there. Kal-El says there are not too many memorable open world games this generation. And I'm kind of glad he brought that up because, like, don't get me wrong, you know, there are some open world games I do really like. Like Horizon's probably like the top tier one for me, but even that one is not as good as some other ones back in the day. You know what I'm saying? This generation open world, and I think, and this is also the same generation where I've gotten tired of open world games, and I was Mr. Open World back in the day, but now there's just so many of every game's a fucking open world game. So even I've gotten tired of it. You know, so I do agree that I'm like, this one I'm like, like that one's good, but you know.
I've never really cared that much for open world games. And I mean, some of them have been able to kind of, you know, hide the fact that they're kind of a little bit, you know, openy, where it's like, okay, as opposed to you just being teleported through cinematic to the next part of your journey, you have to run across this place. You know, this incredibly long environment or drive across, but I've never really cared for those type of games.
Yeah. For worse, I am gonna say it. I don't give a fuck if I get like Breath of the Wild. Boring fucking open world game. Nothing in the world. You know, ugh, not good. Not good.
But I mean, the thing, it's like it's almost like if you took the world of, because Twilight Princess, not Twilight Princess. What was the one before that? Ocarina of Time was a semi-open world sort of game, and it did a lot. I mean, the thing is that it's almost like they took all that Ocarina of Time township and just kind of expanded it across longer distances for Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. All right. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Let's move on to the next. Okay, the second one. How do you make an open world or sandbox game unique and fun so it's a great experience and not another littered map with a laundry list of icons and copy and paste scavenger hunt tomfoolery? Shout out to the good use of the word tomfoolery. I like that. All right, so
they're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah. By the way, Adam, I threw in Wildlands for you, brother.
Wait, we're trying to figure it out?
No. For best open world games.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, it is. It's up there, and you see now they have the permadeath and all that. Again, it's really up to it's Ubisoft, just really putting in time and money and just constantly adding and listening to the community. If all other games did that, we wouldn't have an issue. But so many of them just put in 2 or 3 patches and say, "Don't worry, we'll fix it in the next issue." The next version of the game. And that's what sucks. But I think they're trying. They're trying to build on these games. That's why we're seeing so much with Battle Royale, because everyone thinks that, well, that might be the missing piece to my franchise. Call of Duty's doing it, Battlefield's doing all of them. Last of Us, Uncharted, every damn game is gonna fucking find a reason to have one. Just like they all had to find a reason to have multiplayer.
Yeah. So, anyway, how do we make a better open world game, I guess?
Well, that's it. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. They're all trying to figure out. They think maybe this will be a better...
Monster Hunter World's not an open world game, dude.
Yeah, that's not an open world.
Yeah. What's Monster Hunter?
It's got dinosaurs, so you'll hate it.
Wait, he's talking about Monster Hunter?
No, this guy said the Monster Hunter, but that's not an open world game.
Oh,
not really.
No, that's not open
it's an open environment, but it's not an open world.
It's a sandbox.
If it's all like those places were interconnected, you could freely go through them. Then yes,
yeah, like if you could literally walk out of the gates of that hub area and then walk right into because you can literally find that area where the entrance to that area is just by walking through the door. But it won't, if it was all connected, you could run into every single one of them. It would be awesome.
So it's like Bloodborne.
You know what? Yeah. Anyway,
Bloodborne is all interconnected.
It is interconnected, but I wouldn't call that an open world either because it's loads in between zones.
I saw a speed run. It was like 13 minutes, and the guy ran all the way to the back. He bypassed all these people. I'm like, what? How'd you do that? He just kept running.
Yeah. Anyway, how do we make a better open world game, guys?
I mean, yeah, I do agree with the little bit part of the question, man. Like some of those, whenever you find out there's a whole map there, I often get a little bit of a culture shock, but I get a little overwhelmed. I get a little anxiety from it. God of War kind of gives me that a little bit too sometimes.
Wow, just because that's a pretty stripped down open world too.
It's a stripped down open world. There's just so many icons, so many things to look at. I'm like,
Witcher 3 did that for me. Like I prefer progressing and having certain parts open up as I go along, like the way they did in GTA 4. Remember, not all the boroughs were open. You have to first progress, get to it, then you go. But man, Witcher 3, you get to this one point, they show you a map. It's literally like a 20-minute cutscene of just explaining all these different worlds. Now go where you want. You look at the map, it's like shit everywhere. I was like, I can't do this. I don't have time for this. This is too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, by the way, Adam, I'm glad you said that because I actually do prefer that. Even with my open world games, like don't give me everything at once. Slowly roll it out to me. That way I can experience everything and appreciate it more. And stuff like, here you go nuts. I'm like, what the fuck? No. And you know me, dude. I'm like, I got to do all this shit now before I get to the story I want to play.
It's the completionist thing. You want to get rid of all those little icons on the map. So it's like, and then also the other thing, and this is the one flaw between every single open world game, is the fact that there are so many sorts of these side missions that happen. It waters down the main storyline that
Yes.
you're trying to go for. So it's like, here's the urgency. You need to get to the blah, blah, blah before the dynamite explodes the whole world. All right, I'm just going to go help that old man over there and see that old lady. She needs her car fixed. I'm going to help this guy across the street. You know?
You know what, Manny? But I see your issue with the God of War because there was parts like that. We gotta hurry get there, and then once you get to the front, the little boy says, "Are you sure you don't want to keep exploring?" And I feel like, are you trying to tell me we're missing something? You know what I mean? Like, should we go back into that lake area and explore? Because I mean, they made it seem like we had to go on this mission. You know, and it's like, shit, now I gotta go and explore around because I think I forgot something, or maybe there's a certain weapon we need.
Or the other one was like, oh, we're gonna help this guy again. Why are we gonna do that? It's like, boy, you dare question me?
Right, there you go. So,
yeah. All right, guys, jump in. Ideas. Open world games better. Go.
I just there needs to be more things to do in between. Like I played
Minigames.
Far Cry 5, right? I love Far Cry 5, but like that map was huge and there's barely anything to do. They took the towers out because people hated the towers. At least there was something to do. There's like, now you don't need to do that. Just go into here and like kill this guy, and now the map opens up, and I'm like, shit, but like I don't want to fish and like hunt bears or something. Like there's just nothing to do, you know? So it's just this giant map and very shallow gameplay. Like they need to make that stuff deeper, even the subquest.
did you get that DLC, the Mars and all that stuff? That sounds crazy.
You know, I was thinking about it, but I was like, nah. There was it. I cleared that game so fast. Even losing my save, I still cleared that game too fast for my liking. So I never went back. I know they did the Mars thing in the Vietnam like expansion or something, but I was like, yeah.
I think you just need to drive people naturally towards goals without having to put signposts there. To me, a hallmark of a well-designed environment is channeling you towards an area of interest without having to put that big exclamation point on the map. The problem is that you have people like Tony who are going to be upset that there isn't an exclamation point on the map to tell them that there's something there.
Facts.
So you kind of run the risk of either you have everything pointed out and you have then people feeling overwhelmed, or you don't point everything out and then you have people who get upset because they feel like they're missing parts of the game, and completionists hate that shit. So
here's the one thing that I actually, the part I do enjoy is the joy of discovery, where essentially it was something that wasn't marked on the map, but it was something that I found, you know, and then it put something on there for me to come back to later. I don't mind those. But when I start seeing like as soon as you open the map, all these little glowing things that just showed up everywhere, I kind of get annoyed. I kind of get a little overwhelmed by that. I like to kind of be able to find those things and feel like I have some sort of control as to what I see and don't see. You know what I mean?
Question: why don't you just turn off the icons?
I don't want to turn it. I don't want to turn it. Here's the thing: is like, oh, okay, so then, so like God of War does it two different ways. They do a thing where they give you an icon and they tell you that something is there. They do another one where it doesn't show you where this thing is, but you found it. I don't mind those sorts of things. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you find so when you find the travelers, right? The travelers don't show up there automatically. You have to interact with them first in order for the little icon to show up on your map. You know, same thing with a lot of the other things, and I find those things a little bit more acceptable rather than just throwing a bunch of icons at me at once. You know, but then for Tony, who's the completionist guy, he's like, I didn't know that shit was there, because under normal circumstances, Tony will not go in that direction because it didn't have a thing an icon there. So it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, so it's like, how do you balance that to please both people that want two different things? You know what I'm saying? It's a tricky thing, you know?
Well, people like the icons. I think that's a valid solution. So then the people that still want the ability to see what they still have left, they can still do that without having to like troll through the internet, like have their phone up like all the time. And the people that want to like free roam and discover stuff, they can just have the joy of like, hey, you know what? I'll turn off the icons. I won't know where anything is, But in case I do want to know what things are, then I have that option. Like, I think it's all about having that option there.
The only problem with that is, and I agree with that idea in principle, but the problem is that environmental developers are oftentimes lazy and they won't actually push you into an area with anything other than an icon that says, "Hey, there's something over this way."
Yeah, and I think that's a little bit of the design, a little bit of the design issue with the God of War. Sometimes they don't cycle you through anywhere. It was like, you don't kind of give you a sign as to where you can go. It's just kind of trying things out and seeing if you can get there. Like sometimes they put like big doors in the way, and always big doors are the things that everybody wants to go towards, or giant statue. But sometimes they don't do that.
Yep. Anybody else?
What do they call it? Points of interest.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else? Ideas to make open world games better?
Again, I still just say just have the icons. Have the icons. Have interesting things to do in the world, and by interesting, I don't mean having stuff to collect, as that's not interesting. That's just busy work. So yeah, have instant quests that relate to the game, and I feel like that's what most games tend not to do. They just tend to have like, hey, here's this random quest that makes no sense. Whereas I'm going to bring this up again because this is a good example. Witcher 3. In Witcher 3, you play as a witcher, someone who hunts down evil monsters and banishes them from the world. Fair enough. The side quests relate to the job of a witcher. Like for example, hey, there's this haunted place. Go out and check it out and see what's there. Or hey, there's this creature that has attacked these people. Find out where it lives and kill it. But then during these quests, like the story actually develops. For example, when you're hunting down this creature that has killed people, you tend to find out that it has consciousness, it has a morality, it actually is not just doing things on instinct, and it turns out some hunters were trying to kill it, so hence it's acted in self-defense. So then you need to make the conscious decision as a witcher, like do you A, follow your morals and your code, and you don't kill this creature, as it has shown that it has some sort of intelligence and conscious, or B, do you kill the creature because it has killed human beings? And that is in line with Geralt's work as a witcher. And I feel like quests like that don't hamper the main quest, as you are still going around doing your job, as well as finding out where Ciri is. So I feel like Witcher 3 had side quests that made sense, whereas in other games, like in Fallout 4, it's just like, hey, here's the brotherhood of assholes, and they want to do these things. Are you going to help them or not? Or are you going to track down your son who's been kidnapped? You know? So, in other words, look at what The Witcher does, follow its template. I feel like that's a good solution.
Yeah, I do want to add that, and I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble for this. Even though it's almost one, I actually don't consider the new God of War game an open world game, because there's still too many places you can go to that aren't exactly connected. You have to go through portals, load. Like basically, if you have to load, it's not an open world game anymore. Not really, you know. But at the same time,
it's a semi-open.
Yeah, it's almost there. It's very close. It's almost there, but I still don't consider it one.
I see it almost a little like the way the Bloodborne world is. It's an open world-ish game. You know?
Yeah, but I think God of War is more open world than Bloodborne, but it's still not 100% there. You know what I mean? Go ahead, Carlos.
I think you have to add the stipulation of when it comes to loading, I think you have to clarify what you're loading. Like if you're loading a significant level, then
you have to see a loading screen, it is no longer open world. That's all I'm going with the classic definition of open world game is.
But that's a weird definition because even
how is it weird? That's the classical definition of it. When open world games first started coming out, it's like, what makes it a world? Because you don't have to load any zones. It's just all there all at once.
So would you consider Breath of the Wild an open world?
Breath of the Wild is an open world game.
But you have to load those little levels.
Yeah, the zone, whatchamacallits, the temples, they make it that is a good question. They make it kind of an open world, but the vast majority of the land, it's not like you can't, like if you want to go from the north to the south, you can. You could do it in one travel thing. The shrines are add-ons, so they don't really count. You know what I mean?
But the shrines are part of the game.
They're part of the game, but they're not important for progressing the game. Understand?
you are keying on a really weird, very small portion of like.
No, that is the main thing. This is the classical thing. You don't remember when these games were first coming out?
I do.
It was always the thing.
Here's the thing. Yeah. I played more open world games than you did back in the day, and I'm telling you that even the very beginning ones had instanced areas. There was no game from the very conception of the word open world that didn't have areas that you had to load in. None whatsoever, period. Zero. Today, you still have to load in the interior of buildings of Fallout and Skyrim and games like that.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like the main actual world, not like
now
interiors.
But see, that's the thing. Now you're splitting hairs.
How am I splitting hairs?
Because you just said an open world game is one that you don't have to, that doesn't have loading between areas. But now you're saying, well, loading between these areas or these areas, well, those are okay.
But that's not an area. That's an interior thing. That's completely different, dude.
But and here's the thing. Like, I understand why you're saying it, but like you are just doubling down on this weird definition. Like, generally speaking, open world games are agreed upon by people to be a non-linear type of game in which you can ignore the main objective and go around and do side quests. You have the ability to choose the way that you interact with the world and the order in which you interact with a lot of things. That is generally regarded as the quality of an open world game.
Yeah, but you're forgetting the other. I totally agree with you. But you can't also ignore the loading aspect. That was always the main thing. You know,
I don't think that
like you're saying I'm keying on things. That's like saying, oh, you're just sticking with this dictionary definition of it. You need to change it. It's like, come on, bro. That's always what it's been. It's a giant map that doesn't load. You know.
So refresh my memory. When you on GTA 3, when you cross the bridge, does it load?
No.
It doesn't.
No.
Like when you have access to. Okay.
It doesn't load at all. That game would not have been open world if you had to load shit. This is why Legacy of Kain is not an open world game, because you have to load shit.
And you don't think the definition has changed just a little bit since we're no longer having the harbor restrictions of the inception of this type of game? Like, you think
the definition
I would have called GTA 3 an open world game back in the day, but by today's standards, I wouldn't qualify.
Yeah, that's bullshit. It is an open world game. That's the definition. You wouldn't have the genre as you know it today without that game.
Here's something for you guys. Grand Theft Auto games have always been open world games.
I know,
even the original ones.
Yeah. Running around and farting.
Yeah.
Yep.
But Brett, I'm not taking away everything you just said. It's true, but I'm saying you are dismissing the loading aspect of it. Everything else you said is completely true, but you can't forget that aspect too. That's what makes it real open world.
The thing that makes GTA open world isn't in my opinion, doesn't have anything to do with loading. It has the ability to run off and fuck off and do whatever you want. Like, that's what made it an open world game, regardless of loading.
Like,
no, that is an aspect, but loading is a very key important part.
Across that bridge.
No, you don't. You don't have to load across that bridge. You just drive through it. You know, there's no loading. That's the point of the game. You know, it's like you don't have to load.
I kind of agree with Tony, but like that's why I mentioned the whole stipulation, like adding like what kind of things you're loading, because for example, Fallout, there's tons of loading.
Yeah,
like every time you go inside
interiors, like loading interiors, that doesn't count. I'm talking about like the top of a Fallout map. You can walk from that all the way to the bottom without loading at all. That's what I'm talking about. Not just like interiors. You know it's going to load interiors because we don't have the hardware for that shit yet. You know, I'm talking about the actual main world. You know,
I'm just gonna say Wikipedia defines an open world game as a virtual world in which players can explore and approach objectives freely, as opposed to a world with more linear gameplay. It does not state anything about loading.
Yeah, it was probably written by a 20-year-old that doesn't remember the old definition. You know, like are we really gonna go? Are we really gonna go like, hey, Wikipedia?
Wikipedia. I remember one time they put Clint Dempsey left to join Arsenal. That did not happen. And that shit was there for a long ass time.
Oh yeah, GTA.
Shout out to Clint Dempsey.
Yeah,
GTA went 3. To Seattle.
Yeah, GTA 3 did load when you start the game, obviously, but it doesn't load in between. That was the whole point. That's what made it revolutionary back then. You know. But anyway, we're getting stuck on that one point there. So let's move on to the next questions by Mr. Life and Times Podcast. All right. So his first question, we've answered this a few times, so we're not going to go over it again. He just wants to know what games that you dislike that everybody loves. So we've answered that already. He said for him it's XCOM 2. So let's go for his next question. With enough resources, what console would you redo to make it a success?
3DO.
I was about to say, I think we can all agree on this answer, but
no Xbox.
No, I was gonna say Dreamcast.
I mean, Dreamcast or 3DO. Yeah.
Turbo Express.
You would say 3DO. Shut up.
So badass. Come on, just think about the whole idea. The fact that you could take your cartridge from your console and shove it in your portable and just go. That was unheard of at the time. And it wasn't until later on Genesis did it with the Nomad. But that was all clunky. This was a little card. Remember those TurboGrafx games? It was just a little
cue card. You want to hear something funny? The original Sega Master System used to actually play those cards. They had their own versions of that.
See?
Yeah.
The cue card.
They did.
And I remember getting so mad because I didn't know anyone that had it. Eventually, that my rich friend, remember Nelson? He wound up getting one. But the first time I saw it actually out of a magazine and actually in someone's hand was on TV. It was Doogie Howser.
Yeah. By the way, to make this segment more interesting, I don't want you guys just to say the system. Explain how you would actually do it. So, Manny, how would you actually make the 3DO a success?
How would I make the 3DO a success? Well, there was quite a bit of things that were to its detriment, and much the biggest thing was its price point. To be honest, you know, the framework that they tried to set up was kind of an interesting sort of framework. In other words, you had the ability, any developer could develop a game for 3DO. There to get into, you know, the only amount of money they needed to get it started was only like $1. So every single company could jump on top of that for a license. The problem was that the fact is that they decided to go, rather than build their own technology, decided to license it to three different companies. And obviously those guys spending so much money to make these damn things, they're like, no, we're going to, you know, this is going to be a premium system. This is going to be $600. And that's what killed the damn thing. I think people would have been a lot more interested in it if it came in at
more than that too. I think it was like $7.
It was like $600 as I remember. And we're talking
that's it, because it costs more because you still have to get a game. It didn't come with a game.
Yeah, it didn't come with a game.
You know, so
yeah. Oh, actually no. Actually it did come with a game. Remember, like the first one came with Crash and Burn, and it came with a sampler disc. Yeah, for 3DO. Yeah, I had that.
I didn't have that. My Sega CD came with a sampler disc or stuff.
No, this one, the 3DO came with a sampler disc, which was like Crash and Burn, and it was the sampler disc that showed you a bunch of other shit. But yeah, I feel like they really should have dropped the price for that thing, because it just killed the. I feel like they probably should have put it out there at a little bit of a loss just to get people in, and you know. That's pretty much it, because there was some great games on there. That's where Road Rash got pretty much the best version of Road Rash. That's where EA pretty much became the EA we kind of know now, making all these really cool games. You know, all that stuff came from that 3DO era. Crystal Dynamics came from the 3DO era. Eidos even came from the 3DO era. All these guys came from there. It's just the fact that, again, nobody was there because of the price point. And then the minute they lowered the price of it, which is around the time when I bought it, it was already too little, too late.
Yeah, so for me, the Sega Saturn, and this is what I would do to actually make it a success. First of all, you do not ever even consider a 32X. No, you get that shit out of there. And first thing is, keep the Sega Genesis going a little bit longer. In America, we're still doing well. There's no reason to discontinue that. Also, obviously, do not release the Sega Saturn so fucking early. They were supposed to release it in September of that year. They released it in May when E3 was happening, and all the retailers got pissed off. You know, and also what I would have done to make it a success is, because remember, Sega was actually talking to both Sony and Silicon Graphics at the point. Go with Sega of Japan should have listened to the American guys. Go with one of those companies. Think about it. We could have had a Sega PlayStation. That would have been fucking insane. If they would have done that, either gone with Sony or Silicon Graphics, not only would you have had a beastly machine that does really good 3D graphics, you would have had like a 2D beast of machine too. So I think that would have helped out the Sega Saturn for sure. And Adam, as you know how I got all this information from the book. Yeah. You know.
Well, then you can go even further back, because what if Sony and Nintendo, if that deal worked out?
Yeah, that
we
could have
wouldn't
worked
have
out
never
too.
had a
Yeah.
PlayStation.
But then we wouldn't have had a PlayStation.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
the
know.
thing.
We
By the
wouldn't
way,
have had it.
with the things I outlined, you would have to sacrifice one of two systems. You either have to sacrifice the PlayStation or the N64 for either of these things that I mentioned to actually come.
Tony's hat would disappear right now.
Yeah, it would be. It would be a Sega. It would be a Sega logo. And you know
It'd
what?
still be a Sega logo.
Tony, I'm not feeling so good.
Yeah, right. Hey, I'll be honest with you, man. If we just had Sega and all those Sony games still came out on a Sega system, I would be perfectly fine with that. You know, I would be perfectly fine with that.
I definitely think that, but the biggest issue with with just the monkey wrench that 32X threw in there, and the fact that two different portions of the company were not not working. And then the other thing is the Sega Saturn is actually capable of playing Sega Genesis games. You want to know why? Because Sega, for every single generation of their games, right, they put in the last processor as their sound chip. So the processor from the Sega Master System was inside of the Sega Genesis. And what was inside of the Sega Genesis was also inside of the Sega Saturn,
And
which
it's
was
so
their sound
stupid
chip.
because the Sega Saturn had a cartridge slot, but
They could have enacted some sort of backward compatibility.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
totally X'd out that stupid 32X shit.
yeah, exactly. All right, Chris, what's your answer and why?
Let's see.
You know which one.
I'll go if
Me?
Yeah, if you need time, Chris, Carlos can go first.
Yeah. Give me a minute. Yeah.
So-
Carlos, go ahead.
Shout out to Hussein. I changed my answer. I'll say PS Vita.
Ooh.
And I think for me, and we've talked about this, and
Simple fix, right?
yeah, like the whole memory card things, like that's like the monkey in the room, right? But the other one that kind of hampered it a lot was sort of the Sony first party support for the system. Like it had good first party games to start with. It had like the Uncharted game. It had a couple of others, and after that, I think was there a Killzone on that?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
Killzone
Mercenaries.
Liberation.
Yeah, and I think that was like one of the best kill zones too.
Yeah,
So-
Yeah, it was.
One.
So it's like after that, like they just stopped supporting it. Like they're like, oh, like these random Japanese studios keep us at bay with this and the indie kind of stuff, you know. So yeah, I think the Vita, because now we only have one company that has a handheld, like a legit handheld, and that's Nintendo.
Yeah, 3DS for life, right?
Yeah. So they currently have a monopoly on that type of market share, and I would rather PS Vita to survive rather than the Dreamcast, because the Dreamcast eventually became sort of like the Xbox became the spiritual successor to the Dreamcast, and we have this. So yeah, PS Vita for me.
Yeah, that's a good answer. All right, who else wants to go?
Well,
Chris,
Yeah.
no, Chris, you go first.
All right.
I was gonna say I would have fixed the 360 by jumping on
Oh,
x86.
360 was a success though. It has to be a system that flopped.
Oh, it has to be a flop. Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, fix the Wii U. The Wii U should have been the Switch. How about them apples?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was a half measure, right? They're just like, we could merge motion
Yeah.
controls and do this half bullshit. They should have been looking at that shit from the beginning. The system itself should have just been the tablet piece, right? And they did that half measure. Boy, wow, what a flop. But enough of fixing their shit. They they finally got around to it. They put all their eggs in this basket. Let's see. What else? What else flopped? I don't think N64. N64 kind of it didn't
didn't
do.
flop.
I mean, PlayStation like destroyed it, but it didn't flop.
Yeah, it didn't flop. All right, we're gonna move on because we're just gonna give everybody one here. Anyway, Brian, go ahead, man.
I go with Carlos. Yes, PS Vita. Thinks it's because lack of support from Sony. They seem to just love to let the thing die and hold on third parties, which is quite odd since Sony, I think at this point in time, has one of the strongest first party out there. Well, in fact, one of the strongest. It's only them and Nintendo. So,
You know,
yeah. But then again, like they still do have some strong titles. They're not strong portable titles, but the strong titles nonetheless. So make them like actually give a fuck. Give it a HDMI output You can plug it into your TV, your HDMI, and possibly plug in like a PS4 to control it, and then it pretty much becomes like a Switch with the thing. So hence, voila! Come on, like it just infuriates me.
They did that, Brian. It was called PlayStation TV. You didn't buy it?
No, because PlayStation TV like played like half the games for the Vita, which is like what's half of nothing. I don't understand. I don't understand. So it makes me so mad because the PS Vita was an amazing piece of kit. It was, I'd say it was like one of the few things that Sony have done like really well in the last 10 years because it was really out there, really powerful for what it was, and it deserved a lot more love than Sony gave it. And that's one of the things that annoys me.
Voice chat.
Yeah,
the Vita was the hottest shit, man, and Sony fucked up with those memory cards, man. I still believe that is the thing that ultimately killed it because of those memory cards. People didn't buy the systems. When people didn't buy the systems, Sony didn't make any games for it. You know what I'm saying, man?
I think there was more to it than that. I think you had a little bit of a loss of engagement because as cool as the system was, it wasn't super ergonomic. It wasn't comfortable to play for long periods of time. I think the screen could have been a little bit bigger. Like I feel like it was designed off a spec sheet and not necessarily off of ergonomics, and that could have helped it. But I do have to ask.
To me, it was more comfortable than the 3DS, man.
And it's
I could hold my Vita for a while.
And it's more comfortable. It's more comfortable than Switch too. You know.
Once I had my case on it, it was. But like I would disagree with that second part. Definitely more comfortable than 3DS. But is nobody going to mention the Dreamcast? Really?
Go ahead, Brett. That's explain the Dreamcast and how would you have made it a success?
You're not going to like this. I would have released the Saturn.
Oh, so what would Sega have done for the mid '90s then?
I mean, the problem was like they already built the tower, and like the Sega CD should probably have been a standalone system. I understand they wanted to build the Voltron of systems. I thought it was cool at the time, but the big thing was the failure of the Sega Saturn really crippled Sega and led to the failure of the Dreamcast.
No, I don't think that was it.
I disagree. It was the 32X. 32X is what killed Sega.
It was. They should have never invested in 32X. Saturn was the way to go. They should have stopped at Sega CD. They were trying to make the Neptune happen. That was going to be the like what you were talking about. That was the Neptune, the 32X CD all-in-one system, and then they scrapped that, so they wasted all that R&D time, and then they made the Saturn. They should have just made the Saturn. 32X should never existed.
Yeah, that's what really killed it.
But why would that? Here's the thing, though. The Saturn was such a failure that by the time that the Dreamcast came around, they had lost most of their infrastructure, so they were having to outsource all of their parts.
And that is not exactly true. The Sega Saturn was a failure in America. In Japan, it was so big when they announced the Dreamcast. People were like, "What the fuck do we need a Dreamcast for? We got a Saturn."
Do well, but they lost a lot of money on it.
They did.
My point being is this. By the time that they came around to Dreamcast, Sega no longer had the infrastructure to develop a lot of their product in-house. They had to outsource a lot of their manufacturing, which meant that they took a huge loss on every system, which led to them hemorrhaging money. They're taking a huge loss on each system. So when the Dreamcast was successful, instead of it printing money, it hemorrhaged money, and they weren't able to keep up with the software sales. So the success of the Dreamcast doomed it, and the success of the Dreamcast was doomed by the fact that they didn't have the infrastructure to build it anymore. And if they had been in a better place / not lost so much money leading into the Dreamcast, then they would have had more money, and they still would have had the infrastructure that they used to. They lost
that money. But you're looking at the end result.
Yeah, you're looking at the end result. Brett, I agree with what you're saying, but they were hemorrhaging money, and this is the key part. Not because of the Saturn didn't do well, but that was because of the 32X. 32X had not existed. The Sega Saturn would have done a lot better, and Sega would have been in a better financial situation for the Dreamcast.
I'll tell you, and it's just my anecdotal story. I didn't buy a Saturn because of 32X. I was so pissed off.
Same thing with Manny.
Same thing with Manny.
Same here, yeah.
But the 32X was successful monetarily.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
No,
that thing bombed, dude.
Yeah.
That
was a huge bomb.
Yeah.
And not to mention, the 32X was also only available in the United States.
Yeah,
and then eventually
Japan.
It came out in Japan later on.
Yeah,
but
it all goes back to the 32X. That was Sega's biggest mistake ever.
Yeah.
Even the Sega CD didn't fuck them up as bad, you know?
Yeah. The half measure should have been they released the Sega CD, right? So they still supported Genesis owners, and then they should have phased in like Turbo Duo. They should have done the same thing, made the Genesis Duo, and it's just one thing with the cartridge and the CD, and then let that coast, keep supporting it, go into Saturn, and all the R&D should have went into Saturn, and then the Saturn would have been way better off.
Yeah, and then the Dreamcast would have been better off. If the Sega
Right.
Saturn had done well, Sega would still be around today. But it was the 32X that ultimately killed that company. I know a lot of people don't realize that.
Actually, a huge price point though.
No, it was. I mean, yeah, it was expensive. It was $500. But that's also the other thing. It's like if they would have went with either Sony or Silicon Graphics, the thing would have been cheaper. You know, but they were being stupid with the development. Don't get me wrong. There was a lot of bullshit that happened with the Sega Saturn development, but it all came back to the 32X. At the end of the
At
day.
the time, they thought they were doing a favor to people. They're like, "Oh, look,
Yeah.
they already have a Genesis. Just attach this on."
Yeah, I don't know. I'll tell you. I remember at the time being like, when they came out with the Saturn, like $500. I was like, no way in fucking hell. No way. This is a system from the time it hit shelves, I was like, this is a system I'm never gonna own.
Yeah,
Never.
but
I mean,
most people
the
like
price
Chris
was
and Manny were like,
unrealistic. It was
"I'm not buying this shit
dead.
because I just bought a 32X." You know,
Yeah, and then the other thing was also the price point of
the
it
price
too.
point was definitely too fucking high. Too
I
fucking
know.
high.
Here's the thing. Like at the time that Tony and our other friend, all our other friends had like Sega Saturns, I didn't have a real console. I just go over their place and play whatever games that they had. It wasn't until a few years, maybe 2 or 3 years later, that I bought a PlayStation. I didn't even buy a PlayStation when it first came out. I was still playing 3DO games back then.
Yeah, the mechanics of the Saturn definitely fucked it up. I think should not have been as expensive. You know. All right, Adam. What about you, man? What system would you have remade to be a success, and how?
Well, that's what I mentioned. Remember the Turbo Express? I feel like for its time, it was up there, and it just needed some tweaking. Just the library of games just didn't have it. Just didn't have it. It had Bonk, and it had a few other games, but it just wasn't up there with all the other games on the other consoles. And I think if it did, that would have been the best handheld, because that destroyed the Game Boy if you think about it, like quality wise. That screen, it had a backlight and everything, and color. It was awesome. You know, and the fact it was portable, and the games, you could just buy one game and put that in your main console if you had the console at home. That was great. It's just a shame it just didn't have the game. So for that, I would have brought that in and just open it up with all the other developers. Say, hey, just start making games for here. That's it.
Yeah. All right. We're gonna go to all day's question because we're almost running out of time here. So I do have a backup question. I'll leave that for next week's show. All right. All day asks, what are some of your favorite games that you would love to see reimagined in a 2D play style? And he goes, Octopath is fire. Right. So I guess what game would you want to see get a 2D demake? Or what games?
Does that count in doing it in the Octopath isometric
No,
view?
it could be any kind of 2D you want, bro.
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be like a Metroidvania. It can be isometric.
It could be isometric. It could be anything. Yeah, as long as it's 2D, it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Brett wants Fallout to go back, right? To what it used to be.
Oh, God, I didn't even thought of that, but yes.
There you go.
Actually, no, we have Wasteland, which is pretty much that, so.
I would say the Street Fighter games. Go back to doing it all hand animated and stuff.
All right, come on, guys, jump in.
I'm thinking, man.
Mm.
This is a hard question.
Final Fantasy.
Go back. Right?
Oh God, yeah! Please just take Final Fantasy back.
Just gonna take it back. Little mungy little characters walking around. I'm saying going back to 16, not the 32 with the blocky people.
Yeah, 16 would be fun. Side scroller John Wick. That isn't even a 3D game yet, though, bro.
Yeah.
As much as I like Breath of the Wild, I would love another SNES-ish Zelda.
I mean, a lot of those were released on the handhelds.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If you want that,
yeah,
get
there's
Link
plenty of
Between
those.
Worlds.
Yeah, plenty of those.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, because I was gonna say Mario, but there's a bunch of 2D Mario games coming out.
Yeah, there'll always be 2D Mario. Man, I can't say Castlevania because we're gonna get Bloodstained. Well, it's coming back. Mega Man's back, baby. So.
Oh, Chris,
Yeah.
what? Oh no, we already got a 2D. I was gonna say Metroid, but no, we got.
We just got Samus Returns.
Yeah.
That's why this is tough. Like, what game could be downgraded from what we like now that would work? Like, Dark Souls would just be Castlevania if it was 2D. So.
Or it'll be like, what's that game?
Or Salt and Sanctuary.
Salt and Sanctuary.
No Man's Sky.
God of War 2D. Then there was a phone game that was that.
Oh, the.
Yeah. Oh shit! I was muted and shit. I said God of War 2D would be pretty cool, you know. But Manny said there's a phone game, so yeah. But I would like it like a big budgeter type of 2D game, you know. That would be cool.
I'd like to see a game like The Witcher brought back, because then its horrible fighting mechanics would be rendered irrelevant.
Hey.
Oh.
Yeah, make it better.
Make it better. Make it a 2D fighter. Like
yeah.
No. Make it an isometric RPG. Like
it'll be Baldur's Gate then.
Yeah.
That might be interesting. I would say Sonic the Hedgehog, but they already did that last year. Thank you, Sega, by the way.
And Sonic Mania Plus.
Yeah, man, good stuff.
Oh, speaking about atmospheric games, Journey would make a good 2D game.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Now, would it be like 2D side-scrolling? Would it be isometric? How would you do that?
I don't know. I think 2D side-scrolling would work still. You just have to like
platform.
yeah, platform it up a little bit.
Yeah, right.
It'd be like, in other words, he'll jump on the little thing. He'll jump onto platforms, and you could slide down dunes, and then use the dunes to kind of jump to another area.
Platform it up. Yeah, we're having a tough time with this question for some reason.
I mean, shit, why not? We'll go back to Metal Gear. Make it a top angle game.
Yeah, man, there you go. Manny, you mean you don't want it to be 2D side-scrolling Snake's Revenge?
No way, man. That's not even a real one. That's not even a real one.
Well, anything's better than Survive. That's just barely 3D.
Damn.
Oh, I don't want to see it rolled back, but I'd like to see a Last of Us game done in the style of the original Legacy of Kain.
That could be interesting.
The only thing that's 3-dimensional about Metal Gear Survive are its graphics. So.
Oh, shit. Damn, son. Bullshit game. I'm trying to think, because the thing is, I'm not really one of those guys that like advocates for that sort of stuff. Like, if it was 2D, keep it 2D. If it was 3D, keep it 3D.
But the thing is that there are games that most games haven't done that.
Yeah, exactly.
Mario was a 3D game, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, we're just thinking about games we like, so it's like, oh, do we really want to change them? And then the games that we want to change them, they probably were 2D in the first place, like the old ones.
Hey, Brett, I got one for you, man. BioShock, the first one. They get isometric.
Oh no,
isometric. No.
That'd be hard to replicate, in my opinion.
Yo, man, they could do it, man.
Oh, you could go back to 32-bit era version of that, like Resident Evil.
Oh shit! Oh man.
And then it would depend more or less on the voice acting, because everything else wouldn't be right.
No, man, fuck that. No voice acting, just scrolly stuff, you know.
Well, if we're going to the 32-bit era, there would be talking.
So we're gonna go 32-bit, because I was thinking, but you know what, 32-bit? Who's crunching our shit? Adam, I'm looking at you right now, brother. What you eating? But no, man, you know what? That is still 2D. So yeah, see, 32-bit era. Adam, what the fuck you doing? I'm about to mute you right now, son. He's not even paying attention.
My cable was fucking.
Well, don't fuck with it during the show, man.
I had no choice because my shit is dying, my headset. So I'm trying to plug it in. It kept falling out.
Yeah, Mega Man X is already 2D though, man.
Well, it did go 3D.
Oh
maybe.
Yeah, Mega Man X9. Yeah, make it back to 2D. There you go. Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter learned their lesson in 2D to 3D. Street Fighter, Manny, he agrees with you, mighty nerd.
Yeah, go back to the old Street Fighter. I don't know, those 3D models, as cool as they look, I miss the old, the old drawn out graphics and stuff like that.
Hey, man, I'm gonna hit you with something. What if they did Street Fighter like
Guilty Gear?
Like Guilty Gear.
Hell yeah. Because it still retains that animated look that it had, instead of that kind of like overly animated, overly tweened animated sort of animation.
Yeah.
Everybody goes, all that shit.
Thankfully, I know, we're not the biggest fans of that art style, but it is still distinctive, which, some other games.
No, I mean, yeah, you can tell a Street Fighter game. I mean, that's fine, but I feel like it's even more of an exaggeration than even the previous Street Fighter games.
Yeah, I agree.
Ryu's feet are way bigger than they were at Street Fighter Alpha.
Yeah, even his hands are crazy. Yeah.
His fists are bigger than his head now.
Yeah, but yeah, say what you will about Street Fighter, at least it's more stylized than the latest King of Fighters. Man, they fucked up with that one. Remember how beautiful the last gen King of Fighters was with the 2D animation? That was fucking insane. And then they decided, let's just make a generic 3D game. Horrible. Street Fighter Alpha style graphics with Street Fighter 3 animation.
Yeah.
Ooh, man, that'd be good. That would be good. All right, I'm going to wrap this up because I think we're running out of steam here with this question. Man, fucked up, nigga.
Yeah, man, people are falling asleep.
Yeah, right. All right, man. So, I almost forgot to put up the graphic here. When do you guys come on? All right. Okay, so thank you for watching and listening. Leave us your questions in the comment section of this episode here on YouTube or over on the Coalition, and we'll answer them on next week's show. Subscribe to Throwdown on SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. Follow us on Twitch, Mixer, Twitter, Periscope, and Facebook. Man, we are all over the place at Throwdown Show. Links are located in the description below. Once again, I was your host, Tony Polanco, joined by Emilio Lopez.
Maybe not Facebook for obvious reasons.
Oh, shit.
Later, guys.
Chris Seeley.
Hey, take care, everyone.
Carlos Romero.
Yo, just do yourself a favor and go watch Attack on Titan, man. It's so good.
Brett Murdoch.
I agree with that sentiment.
Adam Vale.
Have a good week, people.
And Brian Manjoma.
And remember, people, don't say dumb stuff on Twitter. They will find you.
Facts.
And they will kill you.
They will kill you. All right, man. We'll see you on Thursday, man. Later.
Later, guys.
Peace.